that phone ringing was such a timely reminder to turn off your cell phones or silence them if you have them with you. Not that you'd be able to hear them over the Vintage Brass Quintet, but if you did bring your phone, if you don't mind doing that quickly. Friends, it's so lovely to see all of you here. That's like at the wedding when the bride's phone rings. Yes, hello, yes. That I actually was at a wedding where that happened, not the bride, the groom, but during the vows. So, anywho. All right, friends. Well, I'm so pleased that you all are here this afternoon. I'm so excited to welcome the Vintage Brass Quintet. If you don't know, this group is led by Mr. Jim Dowdy, who happens to be the son of Mr. Jim Dowdy, which is just wonderful. So I love when a great connection like that brings some beautiful music to us. So please join me in welcoming these folks.
I heard a woo. I like it. We've got a woo. Hey, this is going to be super. Thank you. Yes, we are the Vintage Brass Quintet. I can't look at an audience with these glasses on. The glasses are only good for reading music. Now I can see you just fine. Yes, my name's Jim Dowdy. I'm not really the leader, but I've been with this group for a while. I play the trombone. There is a Capital University connection by what you're seeing up here, and I've talked to Sonia and Bill, and they're allowing this because of their memories of Otterbein. But in any case, we've got on trumpet Ben Huntoon and Jeff Schleicher. Went to Otterbein. Okay. And I met Jeff when I went to Capitol. I was a freshman, and Jeff was a senior. And then after I'd been at Capitol a few years, Ben came. Now, Ben, you were a band director for a while, but then freelance trumpet player. In fact, you heard Ben last week. You had a brass quintet here that Ben played with and was a jazz music specialist for Stanton Sheet Music for decades. And Ben's a freelance trumpet player around town. Jeff became a band director, and the interesting thing, just before Jeff became a band director, Sonia, you know how you do student teaching. Jeff student taught at the school I went to. In fact, Dad, John would have been playing in Mr. Susie's band. At Whetstone, Les Susie, you know that name. Well, Jeff, I think, may be the only non-Ohio State student teacher he ever accepted. Because Mr. Susie was big with Ohio State. Then Barb Noakes on horn. Barb also came to Capitol. I think, Barb, you came my senior year. Barb arrived. Something like that. It's been a while. Okay, now we're going to figure out our chronology here. But in any case, again, freelance horn player in town, great horn studio. Aaron I met several decades ago when we played together in the Worthington Civic Band. Now, You never went to Capital University, but you knew our band director, Richard Suddendorf, very well. Aaron went to the Ohio State University. And how many Rose Bowls did you go to? 4 Rose Bowls. And Aaron was a band director in Columbus for many, many years. So we're the members of the Vintage Brass Quintet, and we have one of our charter members out here listening. Ray Barker was sitting in this chair for many, many, many years, and it's great seeing Ray again. So the next time we come, Ray, I've talked to Ray about bringing a trumpet and sitting in maybe on a song. But in any case, that's who we are, the Vintage Brass Quintet. Did some of you recognize that first piece? That piece by Handel, from Handel's Water Music. Now, the story behind that, in 1717, the King of England at that time, and you know, kings could do pretty much anything they wanted, he was taking a trip down the Thames on a barge with a lot of his royal friends, and he wanted to impress everyone. So he hired a second barge loaded with musicians. And the whole idea was, we're going to provide music. There were no radios or CD players or anything, so we're going to bring live music. And so all the way down the Thames, Handel is leading this group of musicians with all these songs. And that was one of them, the Allegro Maestoso. The king was so impressed, he made the musicians stay, and all the way after the event, they traveled back, they played everything 3 more times. So, any case, that was our first piece. Now, you had an orchestra group, you had a trio from the Columbus Symphony here a little while ago. Did any of you go to hear that? Did they play Mozart? Did they? Good. We're going to play Mozart too. Now, but there's a problem. This particular Mozart piece, and you're probably going to recognize it, Eine kleine Nachtmusik, means a little night music. Mozart wrote it for 2 violins, a viola, cello, and a bass. Now, if you know anything, and I met a lady earlier today, you said you played the trumpet. There's a problem with us trying to play Mozart for strings. We have to breathe. The string players didn't have to worry about that. So we're going to get through this. I know you're going to be nice. So here we go with Mozart's Eine kleine Nachtmusik. Okay. All right. I think we're going to slow it down a little bit. That's right. I got to get these glasses back up so I can see who I'm talking to. Anyone ever heard of the song, the old beautiful ballad, Moonlight in Vermont? Oh, great, great piece. It was published back in 1944. Now, what's so interesting, if you know any of the lyrics, as they were beginning to compose this piece, the lyricist realized he was about 12 lines in and he goes, nothing is rhyming. There's a problem here. So he went to the composer of the music and said, I think let's just make this entire piece and not do any rhyming. Well, if you end up looking up what they created, every verse is a haiku. Oh, okay. I'm hearing my educated folks are going, oh, okay. How many different syllables in a haiku? There's like 5 lines, and there's some are 5 syllables, some 7 syllables. In any case, this has become such a beloved song in Vermont that for weddings, many of the brides will choose this piece as the first dance. Okay, so you're going to, lovely, lovely ballad. You're going to hear some nice trumpet work, and Aaron on tuba will take melody a little bit also. Moonlight in Vermont. I heard another woo. All right. We'll count the woos. In any case, those of you, I got to keep remembering, got to see who I'm talking to. If any of you played band instruments and you went to a really good high school or you played in college, then you may have studied some of the masterworks like Gustav Holst and his whole suites, maybe Percy Grainger, Lincolnshire Posey. Another one of the great ones is Ralph Vaughan Williams and his English folk song suite. Vaughan Williams, wonderful, wonderful British English composer, early 1900s, and he would go around the countryside and collect folk melodies. In fact, they say by the end of his career, he'd accumulated like maybe 800 separate folk melodies there in England. But in any case, the piece we're going to play for you from the English Folk Song Suite, it's actually a 3-movement work. We're going to play the first movement for you. It's a march called 17 Come Sunday. So, English Folk Song Suite. All right, let's see. Turn the page over. Oh, okay. You're all set. We used to perform, Ray, I'm trying to think, it was when you and Marilyn came to live here, we switched our rehearsal sites, and was it 2 years we actually were playing every week here? How long ago would that have been? 7 years ago, maybe? Even longer than that. Okay. And so we used to, every week we would come over here. Well, our good friend Chris Wiett, who I had known Chris once I started teaching in the Worthington City Schools. Chris had come, I forget how long he had been in Toronto playing there, but came to Central Ohio, played with the Columbus Symphony, was on the faculty at Ohio State, then was an adjunct faculty member at Capitol. In any case, Chris started coming over and listening to us. Now, Chris, incredible bassoonist and a wonderful composer, arranger, but he's always written for woodwind quintets and that kind of group. Well, I guess was inspired. He wrote a piece for us. In fact, he ended up writing 2 pieces for us. And we programmed one of them. I believe this piece, Ohio Tunes, it might be the first one he wrote for us. And I had asked Chris if he would introduce it. Well, Chris has provided, he told me, a 2-hour treatise, right, on the inspiration of this piece. And Madge, his wife, has brought the Cliff Notes version. So would you please welcome Padge, who is going to introduce this piece.
I've cut it down to 3 minutes, maybe. Anyway, Chris was unable to attend today, so I'm delivering his notes for you on the Ohio Tunes. His interest in Ohio's music began in 2003 when the OSU School of Music was planning their celebrations for the state's bicentennial. In this composition, you will hear 3 familiar tunes that are associated with the state. The first one is Blue Tail Fly. It's attributed to Dan Emmett, who was born in Mount Vernon. He's much more famous for composing Dixie. And then Down by the Old Mill Stream was composed by Tell Taylor, who was inspired by a mill on the Finley River. And finally, Down by the Ohio is written by Jack Yellen and Abe Ullman. It was made famous by the Andrews Sisters back in the 1940s. Anybody remember them? Yeah. So please enjoy this arrangement of Ohio music without any football connections as the Vintage Brass Quintet plays Ohio Tunes by Chris Wiett.
Very good, thank you. Really working those woos. Okay. Time to get kind of classical, but light classical for you. Don't want to wear you out. But I bet you've heard of the name Leroy Anderson. Okay, Leroy Anderson, great composer. So many things were done with Arthur Fiedler and the Boston Pops with his music. Syncopated Clock, Crazy Cat, Irish Washerwoman. Maybe at the holidays, most favorite would be Sleigh Ride. Well, the one we're going to do for you is his great trio, Bugler's Holiday. Ray, I don't know how many times you played that with us, Ray. And there's a problem. Bugler's Holiday is a trumpet trio. And so here we are, a brass quintet. And so we could bring Ray up and you could be our third trumpet player, but in this arrangement, play the lead book. Barb on horn, this arrangement, the horn player gets to be the third trumpet. So, and Barb sometimes will always say, why couldn't I have been a trumpet player? But in any case, this is her, at least that's what the trumpet players tell her. They say, you really want to be but in any case, this is Barb's chance to be a member of a trumpet trio. And here we have Leroy Anderson's, this arrangement of Bugler's Holiday.
Let Ray set the tempo on this.
Good idea. How'd she do? Yeah, yeah. In any case, no less an authority than John Philip Sousa, when he was asked about the band movement in the United States, said Patrick Gilmore was probably the father of American bands. Gilmore immigrated to the United States when he was 19 years old from his home in Ireland, went to Boston, and got involved with a lot of bands in the Boston era prior to the Civil War. In fact, the last band he took over, they began calling themselves the Gilmore Band. Well, the Civil War broke out, and the entire band enlisted. And they were involved in many major battles, obviously not fighting, but either providing music to keep up the spirits of the Union troops or carrying stretchers. Some of the battles they were at Bull Run, Antietam, at Gettysburg, and several of the battles around Richmond. They were then sent down in 1863. Later in 63, they went down to New Orleans, and Gilmore was given the responsibility of putting together a large musical presence down in New Orleans to help with, the spirits of the folks as the Union began to take control, particularly the Mississippi River. Gilmore was noted as quite a showman. He would put on these extravagant performances with like 10,000 musicians. If you know your classical music, you're familiar with Verdi's Anvil Chorus. He put on the Anvil Chorus with cannon fire. He hired 100 different firefighters all banging on anvils and all of that. But after the war, by the early 1870s, his band began touring in the United States, and in 1878, he actually took his band over to Europe and did a European tour of 150 different performances. So again, you can see why Sousa would come a generation later, but Gilmore is doing this 30 or 40 years before Sousa's involved. Back in 1863, Gilmore claimed to have composed the next piece we're going to play for you, an arrangement, Johnny Comes Marching Home. I'm sure you all know that piece. As Gilmore confessed later, he said, that's kind of a melody I remember from my youth back in Ireland. But in any case, if you're familiar with the classics, you know that Morton Gould did his great American Salute, which is based on Johnny Comes Marching Home, and this quintet setting will remind you a lot of American Salute. So our version of When Johnny Comes Marching Home. Okay. Well, we're from America. We got to play America's music. Jazz. No woos? Nothing? Oh my gosh, tough crowd. Any case, in 1914, there was a ragtime piano piece written that was called That's a Plenty. And it became a real popular piece. As we moved through later on in the 20th century, it began being called a rag, but then was become of Dixieland jazz. The first recording of this piece was in 1917, but here's where I bet a lot of you maybe know it. Back in the 1950s and 60s, did any of you watch a TV show of Jackie Gleason? Jackie Gleason and the June Taylor Dancers. Remember, you'd see on top, it was like a kaleidoscope. Well, in any case, Jackie Gleason would use this song, That's a Plenty, all the time, transitioning into the June Taylor Dancers and stuff. Now, one thing you're going to hear, we've been playing a lot for you, and many of you are musicians. We're reading music. You see us reading sheet music here. That's because someone else composed or created, arranged, like Chris Riet did, and it's our job to recreate what the composer had in mind. Well, what we're going to do a little later in this piece, you're going to hear Ben improvise. And what that simply means is, rather than recreating, he's going to create for you. He's going to improvise, and in fact, we're going to get out of the way, and Aaron's going to play around on tuba, working together with Ben. So you're going to hear some improvisation as well. But this great Dixieland piece, we're going to hear That's a Plenty, and we'll see if there's any woos after this. All right, let's see. Okay, we're doing all right. We're going to come back to Ohio. Up around Cleveland, Ohio, was born a great composer, particularly of popular music and movie music. Henry Mancini. We're not doing Moon River, okay? But we're going to do something probably just as popular, so get your snapping fingers ready for the Pink Panther. Jill, I heard finger snaps going on out here. It was almost, it's too bad we don't do the Addams Family. That could work also. Okay, well, we've done some march kind of pieces for you. You think about great marches and you think about bands spelling out letters and low tubas playing melodies, and no, we're not going to do Le Regimente. But that's the song I'm setting up. You would think that And I had thought growing up, because Dad would take me to OSU football games, and I loved Script, Ohio. And then I got to high school with Mr. Susie at Whetstone, and we did Script WHS. Okay, we didn't spell out Whetstone, but WHS. And we played a march that got really cool at the end for the tubas and the low brass, us trombone players. And it was a march called the National Emblem March. And so great march. If you listen, you're going to hear the statement. The first statement of the melody are the notes from the Star Spangled Banner, but in a different kind of rhythm. But it's the same notes in order. So in any case, National Emblem. Listen when the tubas, and I get to play along with them at the end, when they get that really cool melody. Isn't that a fun low brass part? Jill, I'm looking at the clock. We were going to do a Gershwin piece. We only got time for one more. So we're going to have to, okay, Jill, you're going to have to invite us back another time, and we'll play the Gershwin piece then. But we've got one more because we do understand that I guess there's something going on Saturday night around 7 or 7:30. I don't know, but I think you'll know the song. Thank you very much for having us today. We love playing for folks. It makes our lives happy, and please, and if we've made you feel good this past hour, then mission accomplished. So, one more song for you.
My friends, let's hear it one more time for the Vintage Brass Quintet. Thank you all so much. We had such a great time. Thank you all for being here. Have a wonderful afternoon.